Well, hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk briefly about Trench Crusade, an alternate history skirmish miniatures game created by Mike Francina, if I'm pronouncing that right, and designed by Tuomas Pirinen of Mordheim fame. After which we'll look at this collection of 2D tabletop trenches, which seems like it would be perfect for Trench Crusade, as well as some older minis that I have in the collection that seem to exude a Trench Crusade type vibe, at least I think so. So the story behind Trench Crusade, as I understand it, is that during the First Crusade, a group of rogue Knights Templar discovered an ancient demonic artifact beneath the city of Jerusalem, which prompted them to begin trafficking with devils in a quest for knowledge and power, ultimately opening up a Hellgate on Earth and kicking off an 800-year war between the mortal allies of heaven and hell. As the conflict rages on over the centuries, the various factions on both sides develop new technologies for warfare, as well as improvements in metallurgy and other sciences, aided by agents of the divine and infernal powers. Which means that by 1914, while rifles, flamethrowers, and grenades are widely used, their effectiveness is somewhat mitigated by bullet-resistant armor, supernatural powers, and conjured entities. At this point, I should mention that even though the official rules aren't out yet, there has been a lot of chatter about Trench Crusade. Because of its hardcore, grimdark aesthetic and provocative religious imagery, I've heard that there were some rather spirited, non-hobby related discussions on the official Trench Crusade Discord server, which led to it being shut down for a while. In the aftermath of that, Trench Crusade became a trending topic. I forget exactly when I took the screenshot on X, formerly known as Twitter, but at the time, Trench Crusade was trending higher than Bill Cosby, but lower than Adderall, for whatever that's worth. Anyway, Trench Crusade probably isn't for everyone. It might be a little too dark for me, I haven't quite decided yet, but it does have some very talented people behind it. And you can download the playtest rules for free at trenchcrusade.com, so definitely check it out if you're interested. So outside of a handful of figures that were offered through a preliminary Kickstarter back in 2022, I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there is an official line of Trench Crusade miniatures available yet, though if you visit the Trench Crusade Twitter feed, the X feed, or its Facebook page, it looks like a lot of cool things are in the works for when the full Kickstarter campaign is launched later this year. That's what they're saying anyway, 2024, so we'll just see, because these things take time after all. In the meantime, if you want to start using the Trench Crusade playtest rules right away, you can always gruesomely convert a box of regular World War I soldiers or 3D print some appropriately trenchy figures. I'm sure there are plenty of STL files out there. Or simply pluck some lucky contestants from your current miniatures collection. I happen to have a host of old Target Games Warzone figures from about 25 years ago, which probably would feel right at home in a game of Trench Crusade. Here are a few chunky trench punk type troopers that certainly have a World War I vibe going on with their wide-brimmed helmets and their gas masks. You might have to overlook the modern assault rifles some of them are armed with, but their Gatling-style machine guns and armored shoulder pads would fit right in with the Trench Crusade aesthetic. Next, we have three heavily armed religious types who might serve as either trench pilgrims or heretic legionnaires, depending on what kind of force you're building. Sometimes when you're dealing with hardcore fanatics, it can be difficult to tell where their allegiances lie just by looking at them. And then here on the right we have two black-robed cultists who might work as either heretic troopers or some other foot soldiers of darkness. I'm not sure what the final Trench Crusade faction list will look like, but I suspect there'll be room for cultists somewhere on the roster. And just for fun, let's take a look at some other Trench Crusade applicable minis from the 1999 Target Games catalog. These old Warzone figs have been out of production for quite a while, but you can often find them on eBay for not a lot of money, particularly if you buy them loose. These figures here are from the Warzone Dark Legion faction. Here are some more Dark Legion figures. Now the lore of Trench Crusade, which spans more than 800 years, allows for both firearms and medieval weapons on the battlefield, so plan your warbands accordingly. Defending the righteous, we have some Warzone Brotherhood figures, armed with a collection of spears, swords, grenades, and even a sniper rifle, so again, a good mix of firearms and close combat weapons. And finally, we have some Sacred Warriors, Pilgrims, and Elite Troopers from the Brotherhood faction. These guys are definitely rocking religious-inspired garb and are armed with both swords and rifles, so again, I think they fit in nicely with the whole Trench Crusade aesthetic. Though you'd probably want to grunge them up a bit with grime and mud, so they don't look quite so pristine. Anyway, that's just a thought. I'm sure the official Trench Crusade miniatures are going to be fantastic, but I personally am in the middle of a hobby purchase moratorium right now, We've kind of frozen all that for the time being, which is good because it kind of forces me to get creative with the stuff I already have. Okay, let's look at some potential Trench Crusade terrain, shall we? This is a box of matte finish neoprene modular 2D trench tiles from Green Stuff World. And in this set you get 24 tiles in 7 different patterns, including trench lines, dead-end trenches, trench dugouts, and trench intersections. Some of the dead-end trenches have stairs, and some of the trench lines have partial roofs. So as time goes on, I'm really starting to warm up to the idea of 2D terrain, particularly for things like ponds, debris fields, or in this case, trenches. There are some amazing how-to videos on YouTube for making 3D trenches, but right now, at this moment, I don't feel like making it, and I certainly don't feel like storing it. So these tiles here seem like a compact, cost-effective solution to me. Here are the trench dugouts, so I guess a scenario objective could be to clear them out or to raid them for valuable supplies. Let me show you what the backing material looks like. So there's the non-slip backing. The vast majority of these pieces are flat, so they're going to lay flat on the table. A couple of them have small curls on the corner, though I think I can fix that pretty easily by rolling them in the opposite direction. And the print quality on these is very good, so I think you can tell that these are dimensional trenches, even though they're rendered in 2D. Okay, let me make a small layout for you here on the 30 by 22 mat, and then we'll make a bigger one on the 3 by 3 mat downstairs, just so you can see it. The set gives you a mix of straight lines, intersections, dead ends, and dugouts, allowing you to create a variety of configurations. And if you had 2 sets, you could make an enormous trench network on a 4 by 6 table or something larger. So that's certainly an option too, depending on how big you want to go. Here's a closer look at one of the dugouts. As you can see, the print quality is pretty good, at least I think so. Though there is a small curl on the corner of this panel, though like I said earlier, that's easily fixable with a little effort. This dugout is currently occupied by fanatics, though I think a well-placed grenade would probably detonate those fuel cans and that loose ammunition and clear out the space for some new occupants. Here's a look at some of the other tiles, and as you can see, there's plenty of room for miniatures, even chunky ones like these Warzone figures. And here's a top-down view showing you how the graphics create the illusion of dimensionality, even though the tiles themselves are just flat pieces of neoprene. And finally, here's what you get when you take a 24-piece set and build a trench network on a 3 by 3 table, so it kind of fills it up. And if you had a bigger mat, you could really go to town and sort of augment the trenches with craters, burned out buildings, wrecked vehicles, and all that good stuff. Here's a close-up shot of one of the straight trench pieces that's there on the left that has the partial roof. And then on the right, where the 2 fanatics are standing, you see a dead-end piece of trench with stairs. Now, not all the dead ends have stairs, and not all the straight pieces have roofs. Alright folks, I guess that's a wrap on today's discussion of Trench Crusade, trenchy-type miniatures, and trenchy-type terrain. Please let me know in the comment section what you thought about today's video and whether or not you're going to be dipping your toe into Trench Crusade, either the playtest rules or the final version. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. I'll be back shortly with some more tabletop wargaming weirdness, but until then, stay frosty, and we'll see you next time.